The man clamped the electric clips onto the woman's ears, trying to force her to reveal the whereabouts of her boyfriend, but the woman instead began to curse at him. Nick then pulled out a blanket and covered her, threatening to electrocute her if she didn't talk. But to protect her boyfriend, the woman still refused to say anything. Nick immediately turned the current to the maximum, and the woman's screams instantly filled the entire room. Soon, the woman was electrocuted to the point of losing control of her bladder, but Nick wasn't the least bit scared. He calmly took the blanket off and covered the soiled area. He looked at the photo of his daughter, smiling happily. At that time, she had not yet suffered the abuse of the kidnappers. He couldn't figure out why his daughter had died in the end. At this moment, the weak woman who had been electrocuted spoke.
아저씨 죽어. 100% 확실히. 사진도 줬다니까. 죽고 싶지 않으면 나 그냥 두고 가요. 생각해서 해주는 말이야. 정말이에요.
Even though the woman apologized to Nick, what she said sounded more like a threat to him. As a result, Nick became even angrier. He felt his daughter was even more innocent. He picked up the blanket and covered the woman's head with it again, then turned the current back on. At this moment, anyone related to his daughter's death would not be spared by him. When Jason returned to take his revenge, he found that his girlfriend's house was already surrounded by the police. He immediately found a way to get into the elevator, but by then, his girlfriend had already become a cold corpse. He took her hand when the police weren't paying attention, which became their final farewell. Now, the last person in the world who cared about him was dead. Like Nick, all that was left for him was revenge. At this point, his only enemy was the girl's father, so he went to Nick's house and waited in his car. But he waited from day to night and still didn't see Nick. By this time, Nick had also arrived at Jason's rental house very early. Both of them were waiting for each other. Eventually, Jason couldn't hold on any longer and drove away. But when he returned to the rental house, he found that the light inside was on. He carefully leaned against the window and saw that the enemy he had been desperately looking for was actually sleeping in his room at this moment. He held the knife tightly and stood by the door for a while. When he was about to open the door, a powerful electric current came from the door handle, instantly paralyzing Jason on the ground. It turned out that Nick had connected the wires to the door earlier. Then he dragged the unconscious Jason into the house and beat him up. He even wanted to pick up the knife and stab him to death, but finally stopped. It wasn't that he gave up on revenge, but that he wanted to take Jason to the river where his daughter had drowned.